Hello, and welcome aboard the USS Voyager. My name is Bracken, and I'm here to acquaint you with your ship and your role as the commanding officers aboard this ship. You are responsible for the roughly 2,100 people aboard this vessel, their well-being, as well as the heavy responsibility of carrying out the orders you were given in your briefing. You have to make the hard decisions, choose what to sacrifice, and lead your crew to victory in every instance. Your primary responsibility is the ship. Sometimes that means making hard decisions that may cost lives, but this is the mantle you bear. You are currently on the bridge. The bridge is located on Deck 12 in the very core of the ship. Your job is vital to the success of your mission, and I want to train you to be the very best. As I go through this training, please follow along with the instructions I give you. If there are two of you, each of you have your own computer. Follow along with everything that I say to follow along with, whether it's at your computer or not. You both need to learn both stations. If you're alone, you definitely need to learn both stations, but if there are two of you, you may need to learn the other station just in case the worst should happen and your partner is incapacitated. It is very important that you listen to what I'm teaching you, so that when the time comes, you can accomplish your tasks without my help. So as I ask you to click, type, or do, follow along exactly so that you can see these important effects as we go through your training. And if you ever start to fall behind, you can pause this training at any time so that you can catch up to what I'm talking about. As we move through, there will be several times that I ask you to type in information. If you need extra time to type anything in, please pause this training so that you do not get lost as I move ahead. I'm going to repeat that one more time so you understand how important it is. If you need extra time to type anything in when you're told to type, immediately pause your training so that you don't get lost when I move on. When you're finished typing, you can then press play so that your training resumes. A couple more things I want to cover before we get started. A field is a box where you can type information in. You may already have known that, but it is important that you understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a field. Anytime I'm talking about a field, I am talking about the blank space where you can type in a box on your screen. Also, if at any time you need help during this training, or you feel undeniably confused and cannot figure out what's going on by yourself, you should pause your training and then raise your hand, and one of our staff members will come to assist you. Do not forget to pause before you raise your hand. Now that we've got those basics out of the way, the very first thing we need to do is log into your station to gain access. In order to do that, we need to go to the bottom right corner of your screen and enter your name where it says Officer Login, and type your name into the empty field there. If there are two of you, log in to your respective computers. If it's just one of you, log in to both. This is the last time I'll mention this, but if you need extra time to type, please pause your training and enter your name and restart when you're done. Now that your name is typed in, simply click the Login button directly below the field. This will give you access to the station. Before we do anything else, let's take a look at the widgets across the top center of your screen. If there are two of you, both of you can do this on your respective computers at the same time. If it's just one of you, pick which computer you want to start with. These widgets were designed to make yours and everyone else's job easier. The very first widget looks like a pink square with a pencil. If you hover over it, the words Long Range Message Composer appear, telling you what the widget is. This widget will allow us to craft and send a long-range message. Let's go ahead and do that now. Click on the Long Range Message Composer widget if you haven't already. A box will appear. At the top, you'll notice that once again we have the name of the widget, Long Range Message Composer. And then we have an empty to field and an empty body field. Long-range messages are similar to email. Because Voyager is often sent off into the vast darkness of space, she needed a way for her crew to transmit messages to Terran Space Command and also their families. It can get quite lonely out in the middle of space. This widget is available on every computer in the ship and allows any crew member to send any messages to anyone as long as they have the right address. We're going to send a long-range message to Terran Space Command, so go ahead and type that into the To field. Then, in the body of the message, type in, "This is a test." Don't worry too much about spelling because the computer can fix that automatically after the message is sent in most cases. Now that we have our message typed, all we need to do is click Q for sending, which is right below the field you typed "This is a test" into. Once you've clicked that, your message is going to the review stage and will be sent if it's approved. The counterintelligence officer or officers review all outgoing communications to ensure that no sensitive information is being sent. The next widget is the calculator widget. It's right next to the long-range message composer. Go ahead and click on that to pull that up. If you ever need a calculator to quickly perform any math function, you can pull this calculator up. Go ahead and click the close button to exit now. Next to the calculator is your objectives widget. Go ahead and click on it. This will allow you to see your mission objectives as you progress throughout your mission. You'll notice there is nothing in there right now. That's because we are in training. You can check this, however, during your mission. Go ahead and click the close button to exit now. Next is the officer's log. The officer's log is a great place to take notes of happenings in your mission, or keep a journal of things that have happened, or that you've been told so that you can remember them in critical situations. One of my heroes, Quincy Lewis, taught me at an early age that if you don't write it down, you won't remember it when you need it. Not only is that true on your mission today, but is a great take-home lesson. Writing things down activates multiple centers of your brain and causes the memory to be recalled more effectively than when it's just heard. Use this to keep track of the various aspects of your mission. To enter something into the log, simply click the Start Log button. This will open a field on the right side of the window. If you click in the empty field, you can now type. Because we're in training, the log will be reset, so we're not going to type anything too exciting here. Just type in "We are in training" and then click Save. Once you click Save, you'll notice how the log appears on the left-hand side. As you add entries, you'll be able to go back through and see any entry you've created. Use this throughout your mission to guarantee your success. You may now close that window. The next widget is the messaging widget. This allows you to instantly message anyone on the bridge and occasionally people on other decks depending on what you're doing at your station. For now, I just want to teach you how to use this. It is important to note that this isn't a toy. This is critical for mission success. It's for critical mission information only. Its purpose is to allow nonverbal communication to other crew members so that it stays relatively quiet on the bridge. This will allow the captain to hear everything that's going on, instead of the bridge becoming littered with side conversations that are distracting and make it difficult to hear things. It will also allow you to work quickly and efficiently on what you are doing without having to get up and run between stations. Let's send a message right now to the Command Monitor station. To do this, click New Message. Once you've done this, find Command Monitor in the list. Once you've found it, click on it, and you'll notice on the right-hand side where it says Messages, it now says Conversation with Command Monitor. Now all you have to do is type a message in the empty field next to where it says Send Message. The message we'll type right now is going to once again say, "This is a test." Once you have that typed in, go ahead and hit the Send Message button. When you do, you will see that it says your station name and then your message. Make sure you check back after you've sent a message to see if you've received a response. If and when they respond, it will show their station name and the message. You may now close out of this screen by clicking the Close button. The next widget is the Training widget. If ever in the middle of your mission you feel like you don't remember how to do something, clicking on that widget will help you understand what's going on a specific screen. It will give you a refresher course on how the various aspects of that screen work. You may close out of this if you've clicked it, by selecting the X in the top left corner. The last widget is the logout widget. You should only log out of your station if you feel like the bridge is going to be taken over and don't want the enemy to have access to your computer. Now that we've explored the widgets, let's take a look at your stations themselves. We'll start with the command monitor station. Let's start with the vessel status screen. In order to access it, move your mouse over to the left-hand side of the screen, and you'll notice the menu buttons there zoom and show you what screens you have available. Select Vessel Status. This screen here shows you a lot of what's going on inside your ship. You can see our current destination, what speed we're moving at, if we have a target locked to fire weapons at, and how many crew members are on the ship, radiation level, battery charge, and coolant reserve. You can also see any damaged systems. The energy battery system should be showing in the damaged systems field now. You can also see that the shields are raised and can control the alert status. This screen is simply to allow you to monitor ship operations and give you a quick bird's eye view of what needs doing and where you're headed. It is a good idea to check this regularly. It's also okay if you're not seeing the shields raised. Sometimes that happens. It's not a big deal. We can see that later. Now let's go back to our left-hand menu and select the self-destruct screen. When you get there, if you push that red button in the middle, which you should do now since we're just in training, it will give you a prompt that allows you to enter a time until the ship destructs. The first field is hours, the second minutes, and the third seconds. Let's set the timer for 1 hour by typing a 1 in the leftmost field, and then click Activate. When you click Activate, you'll see the timer start to count down. You can deactivate this until it reaches 0. Go ahead and deactivate this now. You should only use self-destruct as a last resort to prevent an enemy from overtaking the ship or gaining information about Terran Space Command or other top-secret projects and having no other options to stop them. Now let's jump over to the Executive Officer Monitor. This station also has the vessel status screen we talked about earlier, so we can ignore that for now and move over to the crew roster. This screen allows you to see who is assigned to serve aboard Voyager. If you're ever wondering if an officer is supposed to be aboard, this is where you could verify that they should be here. You can also search personnel. Let's say we're looking for one of the ship's engineers. His name is Vladimir. Let's just type in a capital V and then a lowercase l. Be aware that the search here is case sensitive. You'll see that it pulls him up, Vladimir Kusin. It shows his age, rank, and position. You can search any officer this way, but I will say it again, the search is case sensitive. Let's move over to docking control by selecting it from your left side menu. If you need to dock or are docked, there are a specific set of instructions you'd need to follow in order to do either thing. Right now we aren't docked because we're in training, so all you'd need to do to dock the ship is attach docking clamps, then extend the boarding ramps, and then open the airlock doors. If we were undocking, we'd do this in reverse order. Generally, you'll have instructions given to you in order to do this, but this is where you do it from. Let's now take a look at the ship-wide alert status. We use this in order to alert our roughly 2,100 crew members as to where they need to be. Obviously, with 2,100 crew people, we're going to have 3 different groups that work 8-hour shifts to cover the 24 hours in a day. In the event of a battle or a very dangerous situation, we'd want to wake everyone up so that they were aware of what's going on. We do that by going to Red Alert or Alert Condition 1. If we were moving into a dangerous situation, but it wasn't going to affect the lives of crew members on our ship, we'd simply use Alert Condition 3. Alert Conditions 2 and 4 are right in between and will wake up certain groups of people to make sure our ship functions properly. Alert Condition 5 means everything is hunky-dory. Now let's talk a little bit about your ship and the crew you have up on the bridge. Voyager has 2 engines, a jump drive and a fusion reaction engine. Both of these propel the ship forward, though the jump drive allows us to break the light barrier and move very quickly. We use that to get from place to place, and we use the fusion drive inside of solar systems or when we need to navigate around objects but continue moving forward. Without getting too technical, I do want to talk a little bit about the jump drive. The jump drive creates an artificial wormhole and allows us to enter hyperspace. It would be similar to a submarine descending below water into a different plane. That's what our ship does with jump drive. It's protected by a subspace bubble that keeps the effects of hyperspace away from us. Because hyperspace is a different plane, it would crush us into a little tiny subatomic particle. We don't want that to happen, so we use the bubble to keep hyperspace away from the ship. If that bubble is ever punctured, our ship would instantly be tinified, and all of us dead. It's very important that we keep that bubble working. Your navigation officer, or officers, to your right are in charge of keeping that bubble and the stress of that bubble in the right zone. For more information, you can go over and see the bubble after training and have your navigation officer explain the particulars. Now, let's talk about the weapons we have. We have nuclear missiles, standard missiles, and a laser cannon to do damage to other ships. We also have a railgun system to destroy incoming projectiles. Just so you know, the main government of the diaspora is fine with ships engaging in combat, but it is not okay to destroy a vessel. When a vessel is defeated, it will have taken heavy damage, and sure, it's most likely some lives would be lost, but it is customary to take their crew and hold them hostage and tow the vessel back to the government that it belongs to. We then demand a fee for the transfer of their ship and their crew to cover damages, of course, and to make sure that they understand we won. Keep this in mind if you engage in combat. It truly is taboo to destroy any of these very, very expensive vessels. Our ship runs on helium-3. If we run out of helium-3, it is your responsibility to procure more. Just so you're aware, helium-3 is plentiful and also very expensive because it's hard to purify. Several people have set up shops throughout the area. You're welcome to visit them and exchange currency for the helium-3, but do not go over your approved budget. Your approved budget is told to you by Terran Space Command. Next, realize that every system in the ship requires power to operate. For instance, the fusion engines generally only have enough power to go 1/4 fusion reaction speed. If you wanted to go faster, you'd need to ask your operations officer to put more power into the system. To your right is your navigation officer or officers, and directly past is the operations officer. Your operations officer is in charge of placing power into various systems throughout the ship. If you wanted to go faster, you'd need to put more power into that ship's system, the fusion reaction engine. However, there is a finite amount of power available from our reactor, so it is important to understand that if you're putting a lot of power into one system, other systems will have to have no power in them for that system to operate. You can change the power settings at any time. That's the operations officer's job. The operations officer also controls the transpod system, which allows them to transport people, cargo, etc. off of the ship to another location using a smaller version of the jump drive artificial wormhole creation process. Transpods are sometimes called transporters, but every ship that we know of in our galactic government uses this transpod system. They also, the operations officer, or officers, control the TOW or tow cable system, which uses a magnetic, quote, tractor beam, end quote, and 4 very strong tow winch cables to pull ships behind us. If we were trying to use the jump drive and we were towing a vessel with us, we'd need to increase the size of our bubble. We talked about that bubble earlier. You should talk to the navigation officer after training just so you can see what it does. Our standard bubble size is envelope or ENV2. In order to tow a ship, we'd probably have to use N5 or 6, which pushes the bubble out and requires a great deal more power. We also cannot fight if our bubble is up, because if the bubble is punctured, our ship would be instantly tinified. So, keep this in mind as you're using the bubble. I bring that up again here because there are times where you will need to tow a vessel at faster than light speeds, and that bubble is very important to your survival. Next, to your left on that bank of computers, the first officer there is your counterintelligence officer or officers. That station is tasked with finding and eliminating any spies that may be trying to gain access to our ship or our secure files. They are also able to activate silent running mode, which helps to mask our ship from sensors of other starships, as long as we don't give off too much energy in the use of our systems. They also have to review every single message going out of this ship. First officer, it's very important that you check in with your counterintelligence team and see what messages are leaving the ship. We never want to give our enemies an advantage, and one of the easiest ways to pass information is through long-range messaging, since every station on the ship has the long-range message sender widget. I need you to understand the level of importance here. The counterintelligence team reads every message going out and deletes anything that looks shady as it comes in. Check in with them often. They also control the signal jammer, which can help prevent messages from leaving the area, dissuade target locks from our vessel, or disrupt sensors of other vessels. Next to them is your security team. They'll have phasers to protect the crew on the bridge, and they are also in charge of handling any incidents that occur on the ship. They have a host of security officers that they can send to varying locations, but their assignment will generally keep them on the bridge. They also have deck evacuation controls, door sealing controls, and transient gas control, so that they can handle fires and other things that are happening. Transient gas briefly sucks out the oxygen from a room, suffocates people briefly until they are unconscious, and can stop fires by pulling that oxygen out. This is a very good function to know about, and you may want to use if fires start occurring in the ship. Now let's look at the front left of the bridge. This is your sensors officer or sensors team. They are the eyes of the ship. They have a sensors array that shows them what's going on around us for 300,000 kilometers. They have a long-range sensor system as well that sees about 30 times that distance, or 3 million kilometers, but those can only see basic spatial disturbances. They are also in charge of creating probe networks to extend our sensors capabilities so that we can see further if we are in an area for a long amount of time. They also have defensive and science probes which can be used for helping us in battle or performing science experiments. Probes are fired by your tactical officers, and we'll talk about them in just a moment. To the front right is your communications officer. They receive all incoming calls, handle outgoing calls for you, and they decode the secret messages that come in as well. Terran Space Command requires that we send updates every 15 to 20 minutes on the status of our mission. Your first officer is responsible for updating command about our present status and sending these messages. If command does not receive these messages, your first officer could go to a federal black site prison for life. This is an important duty that needs to be completed. If you turn around, behind you are your tactical and damage control officers. Tacticals to your left has the shuttle bay control and can fire weapons for the ship. Also probes, as I mentioned earlier. Damage control is responsible for repairs. I would recommend that you check out those stations when you get some time. Now that you know the basic responsibilities of your bridge crew, let's talk quickly about giving orders. When the captain gives an order, the first officer should make sure that that order is followed. For instance, Captain, if you said, activate the jump drive, unless your first officer is incredibly busy with a task you gave them, your first officer should walk over to the navigation station and ensure that the jump drive is activated. This will make sure your ship runs efficiently. Anytime you give an order, your first officer should be there ensuring it's followed. First officer, you're in charge of crew discipline. If crew members are being loud or rowdy, you can sentence them to time in the brig. The brig is a force field protected jail cell your security officers have access to on the bridge. If someone isn't listening, isn't obeying the captain, refuses to listen, or is trying to incite mutiny, and you've tried everything else to calm them down, it's okay to ask security to place them in the brig. I wouldn't advise abusing this power, as you'd anger people on your crew and have a mutiny on your hands. It's best to use this as a last resort. But you do need to keep the bridge quiet and functional for the captain. Very lastly, if you, on either computer, or both computers, take a look at the library information screen, you can see many entries on many different topics. These topics also have categories that you're welcome to peruse and browse if you wish and have time. Remember that this should never take over your full attention, as you're tasked with being in charge of the entire operation of the vessel. However, this is a great place to gather information about alien races, technology, or governmental structures and things of that nature. This concludes your training. I hope you understand how important your responsibilities on this ship are. You are the command team. You're in charge of your team, a team that's in charge of the roughly 2,100 lives on your ship. If there is anything you don't understand, make sure you get clarification on it now. You may now raise your hand, and a staff member will come and grab your training equipment from you. Good luck.